France and China are also participating through the G20 to an initiative to suspend the debt of more than 32 developing countries. And I think it's something that we really should continue to work on, because there is a need to release financial pressure on developing countries and allow them to direct their support to the economic recovery. We are promoting this international cooperation. We are, of course, trying to boost our competitiveness, but it doesn't mean that we are not continuing to advocate free trade, and we are clearly in favor of free trade and not about decoupling economies. In fact, and this morning also we are speaking about a level playing field. I think in the post-COVID world, level playing field is an important point. And in that regard, it's very important that European Union and China reach an agreement by the end of the year to strengthen and protect cross-border investment. I think it's one of the very strong message that we could send to the world. We both try to make some progress on the question of protection of data, or also the question about use of new technology for misleading information. And I think we have been facing exactly the same difficulty, even more because G20 is larger than G7, that we come from very different background. And like in Europe, we clearly put the protection of data as a first layer of our thinking. The other will saw it more as a product, as a source of income. Other will say some other use that we are not likely to accept in Europe. So we still need to work a lot. I suspect that was your question, that the pandemic is putting a lot of question, because clearly in our country, in my country, the app didn't work because it was just voluntarily participation. So it's a question mark in the future, but a lot of discussion is needed. One of the difficulties that we face is that also very different views in the fact that for certain it should be the private sector and the big providers which are doing their job by themselves. And some countries which are hosting these companies are basically supporting the view. The others who are thinking that maybe the big company could abuse of their position are looking for discipline, but at the same time they could fear the fear even in their country, as my Australian colleague was saying, that governments have got other ideas about controlling the situation. So it's really a complex issue because it's a multi-actor. It's not only state, it's also big companies, it's civil society. We know that we have to achieve things because just the idea of a world which is becoming more and more important, which have not a clear rule, is not very satisfying. But my point was still a long way to go because we come from very, very different point of view. Well, in my intervention, I tried to highlight a few directions, and I think, like Clemens was saying, that it's important also that we all take our part of the burden. Like I was referring to the Act A initiative, France is suffering quite heavily from the crisis, but still we have identified 550 million euros to support that initiative, and the access of developing countries to the vaccine. If we speak about the debt, African debt, and what we should do, we really also have to, everyone has to take his part of the burden. It will be not possible to have a real alleviation of the debt if at the end of the day our citizens have got the impression that they are considering a debt to allow others to see their debt repaid. And that will be a new wave of indignation against globalization if it works so unfairly.